As far as Will Smith is concerned, until he does right by all of those children that were harmed and corrupted while in his care, children that grew up to be men, boys like Bryshere Gray, August Alsina, your own son. Like, your own son.
The Hollywood success story didn't just fall apart. It became the center of a storm filled with allegations, disputed interviews, and unanswered questions. One after another, familiar names began surfacing. Jaguar Wright, Brother Bilal, Tasha K, Terrence Howard, Birdman, and eventually Bryshere Gray. Each interview seemed to add another layer to a mystery that refuses to disappear. Now, Jaguar Wright is making her most dramatic claims yet, alleging that hidden tapes and long-buried stories could change how people view Bryshere Gray's rise, his sudden downfall, and the powerful figures who allegedly surrounded him. None of these allegations have been established in court, and those accused have denied or disputed various claims over the years. Even so, the conversation has continued to grow as new interviews, old clips, and public reactions keep resurfacing. So how did one of Empire's brightest young stars become the subject of years of speculation? Why do Jaguar Wright, Brother Bilal, and other outspoken figures insist there is still more to reveal? And why are names like Will Smith, Diddy, Charlie Mack, Jada Pinkett Smith, Birdman, and Tasha K repeatedly appearing in the same story? Tonight we're following the timeline, separating documented events from public allegations, and examining how a story that began with mentorship evolved to convince people to a suspicion of cynicism or right, awakened by grace.
Do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming.
In that interview, he said a lot. He said a lot.
He said everything but the thing that was important. That he know that Will Smith, Jaden, he Bryshere and he Meek Mills, and you know it, Bilal.
For years, Bryshere Gray's story looked like another Hollywood success in the making. A young actor with undeniable talent, a breakout role on Empire, and the kind of momentum most aspiring stars only dream about. From the outside, everything appeared to be falling perfectly into place. But according to several outspoken figures, there may have been another story unfolding behind the cameras, one that was never part of the red carpets or television interviews. Before those allegations gained attention, one unexpected interview had already raised eyebrows. During a conversation about his own experiences in the entertainment industry, Terrence Howard described an uncomfortable encounter involving Sean Maggie May, Diddy Combs. Howard suggested the meeting felt unusual and left him questioning the real purpose behind what was presented as professional mentorship.
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, he wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f*** you.
Whether that experience was connected to anything larger remains publicly unverified. Still, Howard's comments resurfaced as online discussions surrounding Hollywood mentorship continued to grow. Then came Jaguar Wright. Rather than focusing only on industry rumors, Jaguar shifted attention directly toward Bryshere Gray. She questioned why, despite spending years working alongside him, so few people had publicly addressed what she believes was happening behind the scenes. Jaguar argued that those closest to the production should have recognized warning signs much earlier.
That was the only issue that I had about what Terrence Howard had to say. Because of all that he talked, he said nothing about Bryshere. He played his television father
Right.
He was on set. He saw what Charlie Mack and them were doing. He knew they were taking those young boys to Diddy. They all knew. I guess his man card only counts, or is only large enough to cover his asshole.
Okay.
Because if you truly believed in all that you say, there is no way you could stand by and watch all of those people that you worked with do what they did to those kids. And you said nothing.
Her claims remain disputed, and none of the serious allegations have been established in court. Even so, they intensified an already growing public debate surrounding Bryshere's rapid rise, his dramatic personal struggles, and the influential names repeatedly linked to his story. As more interviews surfaced, from Jaguar Wright to Brother Bilal, and later discussions across platforms including Tasha K's show, the narrative became increasingly complicated. What initially looked like a straightforward mentorship story was now being questioned from multiple directions. The deeper we looked, the more one question refused to go away. Was Bryshere Gray simply another young star overwhelmed by fame? Or was there a much darker story hiding beneath Hollywood's polished image? As Bryshere Gray's career continued to accelerate, so did the influence of the people around him. On paper, everything looked like the perfect Hollywood success story. Empire had turned him into one of television's fastest rising stars. His music ambitions were gaining attention, and industry veterans were reportedly offering guidance that most young performers could only dream of receiving. According to multiple interviews and public claims made over the years, Charlie Mack became one of the key figures helping shape Bryshere's career. Through those industry connections, Bryshere was introduced to some of entertainment's biggest names, including Will Smith and Sean Diddy Combs. At the time, these relationships were widely viewed as valuable mentorship opportunities. But years later, those same connections would become the focus of intense public speculation. One interview that resurfaced during these discussions came from Terrence Howard, who reflected on the personal cost of compromising one's identity. Although Howard was not specifically describing Bryshere's situation, many online commentators later connected his remarks to the wider conversation surrounding Hollywood mentorship and the pressures young performers can face.
You know, but when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time.
Whether those interpretations are accurate remains a matter of public debate. However, as more voices entered the conversation, including Jaguar Wright and later Brother Bilal, the narrative as a call for writing bright and reach Bryshere Gray, the police are very clear what to say. What had once been celebrated as mentorship was now being questioned by critics who alleged there was far more happening behind closed doors than audiences ever realized. Then, the story took an even darker turn. Beginning in 2020, Bryshere's name started appearing in headlines for reasons completely unrelated to his acting career. Police reports, legal disputes, and disturbing allegations involving his personal life quickly replaced stories about awards and television success. The image of the rising young star was suddenly overshadowed by reports of emotional instability, public incidents, and criminal investigations.
It's like, this is my t-shirt, but that's not my crime, you know?
The alleged crime, brutal. Gray's wife calling 911 after escaping him at a Goodyear QT, claiming Gray punched her hundreds of times, strangled her, and threatened her with a knife. But Gray claims to police it wasn't him, but some guy named Mark.
I guess they got into an argument or whatever. I was at my friend's house playing football.
But Gray's wife says she knows exactly why Gray claimed Mark carried out the crime.
Teacher, that's his name was Mark. That's like his old nickname.
Those reported events became a major turning point in public perception. While the legal matters followed their own course, online speculation intensified. Supporters argued that Bryshere was struggling with serious personal issues, Others, including Jaguar Wright, publicly suggested there could have been deeper causes behind his decline, pointing toward alleged industry manipulation and hidden pressure. None of those broader allegations have been established in court, and they remain strongly disputed. Even so, one question refused to disappear. If Bryshere's downfall was only the result of personal decisions, why did so many former insiders continue pointing back to the same small circle of powerful names? As public discussion around Bryshere Gray continued to grow, the story took another dramatic turn when brother Bilal, a former associate of Will Smith, began making a series of public claims during interviews on Tasha K's platform. Bilal described what he said were his personal experiences and observations from years earlier, making allegations about Will Smith's private life and his relationship with people in the entertainment industry. Those claims quickly spread across social media, generating intense debate. None of the allegations were established in court, and they have been publicly disputed.
Will, when he puts his mind to something, every character, he goes in solid. You watching gay porn, you're going to live sex shows.
That means he had to get aroused by watching
Yeah, that's what and we end up finding that became, I believe that became his addiction to men. That was the addiction to men because he was in a safe environment, right? And they made that environment safe for him. So whoever he was, he can now become. And that created a monster.
The interview immediately divided public opinion. Some viewers argued that Bilal's willingness to speak publicly made his account noteworthy. Others questioned his credibility and pointed out that serious allegations require independent evidence before they can be accepted as fact. The conversation escalated further when Bilal publicly challenged statements made by Jada Pinkett Smith, who had previously described his claims as false and characterized them as an attempted shakedown. Bilal rejected those accusations and said he wanted the dispute resolved through legal channels.
Jada, you said you were going to sue me. You said I extorted you. You said as a money shakedown. You said a lot of things about me to get other networks or other podcasters or bloggers scared for me to come on because they think they're going to be sued. Well, Tasha wasn't sued and I wasn't sued. So you got 2 weeks to issue an apology because me and Will's situation were about business. And I want you to sue. If not, Jada, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you because you know that you're a liar and you know that the things that you said were...
As clips from the interview circulated online, the focus shifted beyond Bryshere Gray. The story now involved multiple public figures, competing narratives, and a growing number of commentators attempting to connect events that had unfolded over several years. Meanwhile, Jaguar Wright continued making her own allegations in separate interviews, claiming there were additional details that had not yet been made public. Those claims attracted significant attention online, but also remained unverified. By this point, the discussion was no longer limited to one celebrity or one interview. It had become a wider debate about Hollywood mentorship, influence, and accountability. Some commentators viewed the interviews as whistleblowing, while others saw them as speculation unsupported by verifiable evidence. What remained clear was that the controversy had taken on a life of its own. Every new interview generated fresh headlines. Every reaction sparked another response, and public attention kept returning to the same question. Was there ever credible evidence to support these claims? Or had years of rumors, interviews, and internet speculation become intertwined into a story that was increasingly difficult to separate from fact? By this stage, the story was no longer being driven by headlines alone. It had become a battle over public perception, competing narratives, and the lasting impact that years of controversy can have on someone's life. For many viewers, Bryshere Gray's transformation was difficult to ignore. Once celebrated as one of television's fastest rising young stars, he was now more often discussed because of legal troubles, personal struggles, and the growing number of public allegations surrounding his past. While those events are documented, the broader claims connecting them to influential figures remain disputed and have not been established in court. At the center of that debate stood brother Bilal, who continued appearing in interviews, insisting that he was telling the truth about what he claimed to have witnessed. Bilal argued that public criticism and legal threats had not changed his position. maintaining that he believed additional information would eventually become public.
You called her a dope fiend.
Yeah, I called her bald-headed dope fiend without question. I told her she better sue me because
she said to TMZ when they asked her when she left the Breakfast Club.
Yes.
She looked. They was like, "Well, what do you got to say?" And she was like, "We're suing. We're suing." And I was just like, "Okay."
Right.
That's been about 2 years.
Yeah,
and we haven't gotten a lawsuit yet.
No, I talked for 2 hours.
Okay.
And I said some pretty, what some people may think to be outrageous things, but I knew them to be true and had the evidence to be, to show that it was true. So from that, that's when Jada responded out of anger, not out of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because for her to be a global iconic superstar, you rushed to the Breakfast Club to say, number one, that, I extorted you. There was a money shakedown. You said you didn't have all the facts. So that puts you in legal jeopardy right now. You said all the facts will come out. None of the facts came out, right? So now you will and yourself are in legal jeopardy.
His remarks quickly spread across social media, prompting sharply divided reactions. Some viewers believed his willingness to repeat the same claims despite public scrutiny made his account worth examining. Others argued that extraordinary allegations require credible, independent evidence and should not be accepted without verification. At the same time, Jaguar Wright continued making her own public claims, describing what she believed was a broader pattern within parts of the entertainment industry. Those claims attracted significant attention online but also remained unverified and strongly disputed. For Bryshere Gray, however, the public conversation had already shifted. Regardless of where the truth ultimately lies, his name had become permanently linked to years of speculation, controversy, and internet debate. Every new interview reignited old questions, every viral clip brought renewed attention, and every public appearance was viewed through the lens of an unresolved story. What began as a narrative about fame and opportunity had evolved into something far more complicated, a story shaped by interviews, allegations, legal disputes, and competing accounts that continue to divide audiences. And perhaps that is what makes this case so unsettling. Not because every claim has been proven, but because so many questions remain unanswered, while the people at the center of the story continue to offer completely different versions of what happened. With emotions running high and public opinion deeply divided, the next chapter would no longer be about rumors alone. It would become about reputation, accountability, and whether any new evidence could ever bring greater clarity to a controversy that has remained unresolved for years. By this point, the controversy had grown far beyond a series of interviews. It had become a story about public perception, and how quickly a person's reputation can change when allegations, media coverage, and online speculation begin feeding into one another. For Bryshere Gray, the contrast was impossible to ignore. He was once celebrated as one of Hollywood's brightest young talents, but years later, discussions about his career were increasingly overshadowed by legal issues, personal struggles, and the ongoing public debate surrounding his past. Whether fairly or unfairly, those headlines became part of his public identity. The controversy also extended to others whose names repeatedly surfaced in interviews and online discussions. Public figures including Will Smith, Sean Diddy, Coombs, Charlie Mack, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Jaguar Wright became part of a wider conversation that stretched across podcasts, live streams, reaction channels, and social media. Some defended those accused and questioned the credibility of the claims. Others argued that the allegations deserved closer scrutiny. Many of the most serious claims remain disputed and have not been established in court. As more interviews circulated, the focus shifted from individual statements to the broader question of accountability. Viewers were no longer asking only whether a specific interview was believable. They were asking why so many different voices were telling overlapping stories while others strongly denied them. For audiences trying to separate fact from speculation, the picture became increasingly difficult to navigate. Documented events, personal testimony, internet theories, and viral clips were often discussed together, making it harder to distinguish verified information from unverified claims. Whatever the ultimate truth may be, the fallout has already been significant. Careers, reputations, and public trust have all been affected. And as long as new interviews continue to emerge and old clips continue resurfacing, this story is unlikely to disappear. Instead, it remains one of Hollywood's most closely watched and hotly debated controversies, where public opinion continues to evolve, but many of the central questions remain unanswered. So, what if the story is only the beginning? Over the years, interviews have surfaced, public claims have been repeated, legal disputes have unfolded, and countless theories have spread across the internet. Yet many of the biggest questions remain unanswered, and many of the most serious allegations remain disputed. If more interviews emerge, if additional documents are ever made public, or if any of the people at the center of this controversy decide to speak again, the conversation could change once more. Until then, the mystery surrounding Bryshere Gray's rise, his dramatic downfall, and the claims made by Jaguar Wright, Brother Bilal, and others remains one of Hollywood's most talked about unresolved stories. What do you think? Are these interviews revealing pieces of a larger puzzle? Or has years of speculation created a story that's become impossible to untangle? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary-style breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because if new developments, interviews, or verified updates emerge in this story, you won't want to miss what comes next.